Feeling lost in the maze of CPS? Desperate to get your child back? You're not alone. Countless parents face the heart-wrenching reality of family separation. The legal system can be overwhelming, but there's hope.
Now, here's the key. Okay, that's how you win a 6-month hearing.
Thank you.
If you do all of those things, you're going to blow your social worker's mind, you're going to blow your attorney's mind, and you're going to blow away the judge.
With attorney Vincent W. Davis, a dedicated legal expert with 39 years of experience, committed to helping families like yours. Join his weekly live Q&A on Zoom, where you can ask your burning questions about CPS cases. Get the knowledge and strategies you need to fight for your child's return.
Alrighty, good evening everyone. This is a question and answer session.
Are you ready to take control of your family's future? Participate as a one-time guest. Don't let fear hold you back. Take the first step towards reuniting your family. Join us now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Bob Pace. I'm your host, and here we are tonight. Fight CPS and stop taking our children. You found me on Facebook, Fight CPS, Bob Pace, and I'm glad you're here. I want to give a warm welcome to all of you, no matter where you're from. This is a worldwide podcast. I have about 20 countries that are participating in all 50 states, including the District of Columbia. That's not a state, but that is in Washington, D.C. Now, all 50 states and the 20 countries, that's a lot of people. And since I've been doing this podcast for 15 months, never missed a performance, I have talked to over 900 people. That's a lot of people and a lot of shows. I think I've done close to 800 shows. If you think about how many shows a month, because I'm on during the week, 7 days a week, that's 14 shows a week. And so I'm on from 7 o'clock at night, Pacific Standard Time on the West Coast of California, and at 10 o'clock in the morning on the West Coast in California. I do this from my home, and I'm 3 blocks from the beach. I live in Surf City, USA. And so that gives you a lot of opportunities. All my shows are recorded. And I just heard that some of my shows, they had to delete the recording. I apologize. But apparently there's some complaints on YouTube about certain words that are used on the show by one of our people. I'm trying to investigate what happened. But they said that supposedly it broke to YouTube. Now, for all you listeners out there, it's very important when you're my guest on the show and you talk. There's certain words you cannot use. We do not allow profanity or anything in bad remarks against social groups. We don't talk about explicit details. We try to leave the names out of individuals. And what you'll do is that if you're on my show to talk or as a guest, you'll be able to introduce yourself, and the location doesn't have to be your home, but I'd like to see location in a city or a county the case was in, and also followed by the state if you're in the United States. But if you're in other countries, it should be followed by the country along with the province, or maybe they too had states. Australia has states, South Africa has province. So anyway, the more information you give me, the better off that I can, help you and so forth. Because CPS is a horrible thing you're going through. It is a horrible thing you're going through. And I was in myself. I've been fighting them for 15 years. Now, Mr. Davis has been fighting them for 39 years. Difference between Mr. Davis, myself, is he is a legal attorney. I'm not an attorney. All I have is my case that lasted for about 5 years of answering unfounded questions. And then finally, they got my children and they took them, stolen them, and put them into foster care and tried to have them alienate from their parents so that they could kidnap them, so forth. So I'm sorry. My computer is still bad virus or something in there, but it takes my picture off. I don't touch anything and it takes it off. And I apologize. Now, I was just going over a little bit of the importance of what you say when you're on here. We're not told to talk about other groups or downplay other groups. We're not supposed to talk about anything that involves adult material. Okay. This is a podcast that YouTube has advertisements and they need to make it suitable for the advertisement. So we have to be careful what we say on here. We cannot use any kind of violence or anything like that. Now, CPS, what I call CPS, is the Child Protection Systems in every county, every state, and every country. They will have different names, but instead of trying to address all the different names, I just say CPS, which stands for Child Protection System. It's a system that was created by Congress and mandated that social service will watch your kids from neglect and abuse. Now, they formed their CPS system in each county, in every state, and every country. Now, I can't say the same about other countries because I don't know enough about that particular country. A lot of them are similar, like the UK is very similar to the US. Canada is very similar. But I don't know about a lot of the other countries. But we have to be careful what we say in here. So if I have you as a guest or you call in, please be careful what you say. Unfortunately, they had to delete a bunch of my videos the last couple of weeks because there was something that would interfere with the ads. So I was given a warning there. So be careful. I don't think this room is raunchous. I don't think it goes out of the ordinary or anything, but it's hard to talk about CPS in a good way. It's really hard. They definitely have gone rogue and gone bad. And I'm talking about the 900 people that will support me, including myself. I too was a victim of CPS. I too have my kids stolen and trafficked and alienated. So I know firsthand about CPS. And I developed 5 rules that will help you so you don't get caught up in CPS or you get away from the CPS. So I put a message up here. Excuse me 1 second. Looks like my messages have got intermixed here. So, okay. There are two messages on my screen right now. The first one is when you're trying to type a message, text me a message on here through the comment section. Please have it pertain to comments or questions about CPS. When you hear the talk about CPS, there's a lot of things we could talk about, but we're only here for CPS matters. Also, please show me your first name and the city or county your case was in, and including the state. Now, if you're from outside the United States, it'd be your country and provinces. But Australia has states, so it'd be states. So try to be complete with that. Also, all of you, tell me about your CPS case so I can help you. Now, at the bottom of my screen, I have a ticket running through, and that is a special arrangement I made with Mr. Davis, the attorney, that you can have a private Zoom consultation with him for 30 minutes, and it only will cost you $60. You use your credit card, and you go to the website. And on the website, you just follow the prompts, and you schedule your time and pay with your credit card $60. And that will give you a chance to talk to Mr. Davis about your case, about everything. It's a Zoom conference call. So that's really important because you need to speak to a real attorney. Most of you are relying on what's called court-appointed attorneys or public defenders. Now, these court-appointed attorneys or public defenders are not good news for you. They're supplied by CPS because they know the law says anytime you're in a legal matter and you can't afford an attorney will be appointed to you. The trouble is CPS picks these attorneys. They pay these attorneys. And they load the attorneys with more than 30 cases so they don't have time to really fight your case. They come to the court hearing and they're stressed. And so they don't want to really fight your case. They go through the motions. So you need to kick their seat of the pants, or you need also to call in and complain about them. You can call the Bar Association of the state and complain to them. Further, you can also sue them for negligence. Now, that goes if you hire some attorneys. Even the hired attorneys, you have bad attorneys. And so I'm talking about attorneys, that's rule number one. I want to talk about the type of attorney you need to find. First, you need to ask two questions. Question one is, are you a legal, juvenile law, family law, dependency lawyer, and have beaten CPS and returned the children? The answer is yes. You go to the second question. Second question is once your case is closed, have you ever gone in a lawsuit against CPS and won money back for the lawsuit? If the answer is yes, you're on the right start. Now you've narrowed it down to attorney. You want to get at least 3 quotes from them. And you want to speak to the 3 attorneys. It's very important because you have to establish the chemistry between you and the attorneys. But it will save your life. Fighting CPS is like open heart surgery. You need a professional doctor to cut open your cavity and take your heart out. CPS is terrible. They are terrible. They will lie. They're not transparent. They'll steal the money from you. They won't help you. It's bad news. I hate to tell you that, but CPS like that. Not all CPS, just the ones. And it seems to be 900 people support me, including my case. I had a bad one. Furthermore, Vincent can tell you about foster care. He's a foster care child himself. And he came out all right. He has a loving mother that at an early age wasn't able to raise him, and that was sad. But he's gone to law school, and he has what it takes to be an attorney. He's a professional, juvenile law, family law, and dependency law attorney. And he's won thousands of cases getting the children back. Furthermore, when the case is closed, he's done lawsuits both in state court and federal court and won millions of dollars back against CPS. So he's a fighter. He's a fighter. So my rule number one is you need to get a real attorney, not a court appointed, not a public defender. Also, you'll find out your children will have a public defender. Each of them will, and your spouse will have it. And that could be a problem because they're not going to help you. Now, we've had some more rooms check in that have special things. You need to look at them. Also, we have one of my family members here, Margaret King. She came in and she says, "Hey, Bob." And then she further said, well, if I get my computer to work, I can see what she did. Let me do escape and then hit the scroll button there so it should go up there. Well, maybe we'll go this way. I wanted to ask you how it went with your children's visitations when you had a CPS case. Good question. Good question. Also want to say, and by the way, Margaret's from St. Louis, Missouri. Also want to say hello to Chubby, and she's from Virginia, southern part of Virginia. And welcome, Chubby. She's been a regular here. She's part of the family now. Well, Margaret, in answer to your question, how many visitations? They started off pretty good at first because at first we went to see our children the day they were taken, and they were in a shelter, and they let us see them. So that was good. It wasn't a good shelter. It wasn't safe. The food was bad. The cockroaches and the rats in the place were evident because you can see the fecal material and you can see the cockroaches moving around. And the location wasn't great because it was in the next to the Bureau of Prisons for Juveniles. That's in Orange, California. And their play area was adjacent to the children's play area. So they could intermix with the juvenile convicts, which is really not making them safe. Furthermore, they had a beehive. But we went and visited them. They were troubled. We were told that you can't say certain things. The kids want to know what's going on. So it was okay at the shelter. But then I noticed something too, that one of the children, for some reason, didn't want to see me or her mother. That was our daughter. She had already been brainwashed by CPS. They were evil parents. But we had a settlement meeting, which you all should have. That's before you go to trial, to try to see if you can get a plan together and get where your children can be at. So we were fortunate that they approved my wife's sister and husband, who later on in the case tried to adopt one of her children. It went bad. But anyway, they took all three kids in. They still kept them to their school of origin, which meant a lot of driving around. They had to take them to a private school for my oldest son, who was 15 at the time. And then my daughter, who's 12, had to go to her school, which is up from our house. Everything. It was close for them. And then her young son was in elementary school. So we had a middle school and elementary school stuff. Now, we had visitations as much as we wanted at my wife's sister and husband. So we saw our kids at first. But then it got realized where it was taking too long of a time or burden on them, and they wanted nothing more with the kids because they didn't realize. They thought it'd be over in 30 or 60 days. Instead, our case went for 3 years. So the next level they gave them to a group home. The problem with the group home was managed by Boys Town from the Midwest, who knew nothing about child protection services or how kids should be taken care of. They're used to having families that don't have parents, not when they have family members that still want to be parents or still active in the children's lives. Also, they bid to be the caretakers of the group home cheaper because they undercut things. They didn't know you had to have this or that. Where the other people, the Boys Town of America was running it. The other people, which at Olive Crafts, were the ones that originally run the home. Now, Orange County Social Service had private group homes that they could put a Boys Town or somebody in there to watch them. So it was a very young couple. They had a child already, a young child that could barely walk, and then they had a one on the way. Now, it doesn't make sense to me to have parents, they have their own children, and they're going to take care of 8 other children in the group home. That's 8, that's 9 with the other child of theirs, and the one on the room on the way was 10. So they're responsible for 10 children. Now, we came to visit. Every time we had to visit, the daughter wasn't seeing the parents. So that was the downside. And the kids were taught to put the hands aside, not to hug, not to show any love towards the parents. They were trying to break our kids. They were trying to do what's called alienation, which is wrong. They don't tell the kids what the parents are doing and how they can get better or what they were. Now, we were constantly taking classes and doing whatever they wanted, we did. We thought we'd get them back that way. They're very deceiving. They'll tell you if you do this and this and that, you get your kids back, but they don't. They make it worse. As time goes on, the visitations got worse and worse. Then it started with a person that would bring the kids, and you'd see them and you participate talking to them. Now, it first started out at the library in the city we lived, but then they went to a special room that was full of social service people that watched all the kids, and they were staring there with their eyeballs to see if you'd screw up saying something or do something to the kids. It's a very uncomfortable feeling, but we insisted to see our children. Then we go like activities, like we go to the church. My wife's a Catholic, so her son was taught to take communion from her priest. Well, the caretaker who was assigned to follow us and sat in church, when our son was asked to join the other kids in a special church services, he went and then he was scolded by the social worker for doing that. And it's wrong because they scold you for anything. The group home was wrong. And the visits were very uncomfortable because people perceive you as something else you're not. So, Margaret, it wasn't a pleasant visitation at all. I want to say it wasn't pleasant at all. And it got to the point where it became less and less of a visit and more of how to break the parents. See, CPS is like you're breaking a new horse. They want to break you. Doing everything they ask will not help you. In fact, they hope you screw up. They hope that you keep so busy. They are corrupt in my case. Orange County Child Protection Services is bad. And the courts there, the Orange County courts, the dependency courts are bad. The judges are bad. The court-appointed attorneys are bad. So you have a lot of things working against you. All I know is that they were getting $20,000 per child to go into foster care, into the group home where it is. So that was $60,000 they got after 3 of our children. And they did a work on our daughter. She is very easily persuaded, and for some strange reason, she thought there was help by doing what they asked. The only trouble, they did the worst nightmare. The worst nightmare. And by the way, when my kids were taken, last time I saw my daughter is when I dropped her off in elementary school. I did not see her the whole 3 years. And to the end, when she was told to divorce her parents, emancipate, and no longer have us as mom and dad. She was told to change her name, and she had a beautiful name. Her middle name was Honolulu, the most beautiful place on the planet in Kauai on the North Shore. They also told her to seal a birth certificate and get a new birth certificate to put the foster care parents that were adopting her. Because when she emancipated, she divorced her mom, her dad. She divorced her 3 brothers, her 2 sisters, both sets of grandparents, and aunts and uncles and cousins. It was a horrific thing that they made her do. She also got a second Social Security card and took out more money from Social Security, which was duplication. So she was getting double pay in the tune of something like $6,000. It was wrong. It was wrong. She was getting $3,000 on one card and $3,000 on the other. And the parents that she was with, they were wealthy. They both combined incomes was $500,000. And so they were fine. They were doing that kind of thing. But the problem being is that they were trying to take him away from us permanently. So hopefully I asked your question, Margaret. I know it was pretty lengthy. Margaret further says, did they ever try to stop your visits to reduce them? They didn't do it purposely. I noticed that things would come up. The caretaker taking care of the kids would be late, wouldn't show up, things like that. But I didn't say anything purposely to try to reduce. They made the visits got worse as time went on. When they're with my wife's sister and husband, we saw a lot of them. Then when they went to the group home, it was like every other day, and I wasn't able to see one of my children. And then when they went to foster care, it got worse because they went to foster care homes. And it was sad. It was really sad. So in a way, it was reduced. It was also made it very difficult. And you can have screw-ups all the time. And it costs a lot of money because you had to provide the transportation to get there. Also, if you want to eat with them, you brought them a meal. So that costs money. Just things like that, And so it was a very unpleasant experience there. I understand, Margaret. The word kill is a bad word, so let's not talk about that, okay? The show has to be public for the ads on the show, so we can't use words like that. Now, it was getting like that. They were trying to break us. It wasn't until I got an attorney when magic started to happen. When I hired Vincent Davis, things changed. Our children are returned. The only thing he didn't have control of is when our child who's 12 in the state of California, 12, you can be emancipated from your parents. And she was told and coached by the social worker who was retaliating because she got caught by Vincent Davis testifying, and she lied. She committed perjury. And there's a good lawsuit that I can win millions of dollars. But when my case was over and I wanted to do it, it would take a retainer that I couldn't afford. I already quick sell my house to hire Vincent Davis, but I couldn't spend any more. It was sad. It's been so sad. I mean, the last time I spoke to my daughter was on May 2nd of 2015. She's 22 now, a grown woman. I've seen pictures, and my sons, who still sees her sister, have told me about the experience. But that's my worstest attack on me that CPS did. I think that's wrong. I think that's entirely wrong. And so with that being said, it is like what you're going through. They try to break you, and I know that. And Margaret further says, they're certainly trying to make my visits very difficult. They want to. They want to retaliate. There's very sick individuals, whether you're in St. Louis or Orange County, California. Now, Margaret further says, well, it was very peaceful to see my 5-year-old screaming and crying his head off. I don't think, painful. Yes, I know it is. When you see your children screaming, yelling because of what CPS doing, it's sad. It's a sad state of affairs. And I apologize for you have to go through that because I know what you're talking about, Margaret. I know what you're talking about. Now, besides Margaret, I think we have another person in this room that is trying to talk. Chew Baby, yes, from Virginia. Do you have any more that you want to tell me, Chew Baby, or anybody else in this room? Now, I'm going to take the message down and real quickly show you how you can be a guest on our podcast. All you have to do to be a guest on our podcast is write to our producer. Her name is Grace, and she can be reached out on email at grace@vincentwdavis.com. Grace@vincentwdavis.com. And ask them that you want to be on my podcast as a guest. Now, she'll give you the the login thing. It's called StreamYard, the application we use, and it's broadcast over YouTube. But she will go ahead and help you out. All you need to do is write her with your email, and she takes the rest. She'll let you know what to do on the radio show and so forth. She'll let you know what to do on the radio show first. So that's important. I can take up to 9 guests, include myself as 10. So do so. Now I'm going to put my number up, so in case you want to call right now, my phone is active. Well, it was up, but then my computer decided to do something else. Let me move the cursor across the page. So that's my number. I use Vonage on the phone because there's an internet one there. So let me see here. We have a lot from Margaret. Let me see where I left off at. She says they're very difficultly making it hard for her visits. It's very painful to see your 5-year-old, I know, in tears. Yes, they're very sick individuals. I agree with you that. Not all of the CPS is bad, but the cases of the 900 some people and myself has shown a broken system. It's all for money. They're all very money. They are very sick individuals. Now, Chew Baby says, I was fortunate enough to have a private lawyer, and the advice that I received was extremely in depth on how to speak and what questions to ask CPS. You're right. You're right. It's a game plan. You're playing chess out there. Now, Margaret says, I'm scared of speaking to CPS. Don't talk to CPS unless you have an attorney present. Talk through your attorney. You don't have to talk to CPS. They're corrupt and bad, and you have an unpleasant experience. Email is a good way. It's a track record. You can be followed. But a lot of things get lost in emails. Now, Margaret says, I refuse to speak to any CP officials unless I have my lawyer present. You're so true. Margaret is learning well what I've been preaching in here. Now, Chew Baby, let me put your message up. They closed my case and then called and said I needed ongoing service with no proof of evidence. So that's when my lawyer stepped in. Here in Virginia, they cannot keep the closed case going. I'm thankful about that. You also should think about you getting yourself expurged. Don't keep it on your record because they'll come back to haunt you. They'll come back to haunt you. Now, Chew Baby says there is no statute that allows for them to keep a case ongoing. You're right. You're right, Chew Baby, and thank you for sharing that. Now, my phone number's up in case anybody wants to watch. I'm glad we have Chew Baby and Margaret that are calling in and expressing themselves. That is really, really great. I think we had one other person in here. Let me see who it was. Chew Baby and Margaret. I thought we had another person. I guess not. I thought we had another person. I talk to so many people, it gets hard sometimes. Yeah, just Chew Baby and Margaret are the two. One from California and one from Virginia. Clear across the states there. So I've told you about how to talk on the show, that just by sending communications by text and messages is all you have to do. Now, if you do call in or you do be on the show, you will get rewarded because I made special arrangements to have Vincent Davis talk to you on a Zoom conference call for 15 minutes for only $60. 15 minutes for $60. And that's just a call on that ring. That is an excellent rule to go by, Margaret. Everybody seen that as a room? That's what you all should be doing. I refuse to speak to any CPS affiliation unless I have my lawyer's permission. There you go. She's using the right tools. Do not speak to CPS. Do not talk to them. Do not give them your child. Because they are corrupt. They are corrupt. Now, Chew Baby Virginia says that is the law. They took out censoring. They took out one sentence from my 10-year-old extremely out of contents and decided they would run with it. Then I hired an attorney. Yep, they will distort things. You know, I've heard nothing but horror stories trying to do CPS without an attorney or using a court-appointed attorney or public law defender. You know, it's really... Now, Margaret said they did the same thing to my 5-year-old. They took something she said and blew it out of proportion. I agree. They have a habit of doing that. They're in the business to make money. CPS is making money, not helping families or saving our children. There are over 1,000 people a day that go unreported that should have been reported by CPS should investigation. Now, Chew Baby says, after the conversation about law and statutes, I haven't heard a peep. Never speak to them. You're right. You're right. Chew Baby, thank you for sharing that. Now, Margaret says, and they questioned my 5-year-old without adult present, told me to stay away. You're right. They should use 2 people when they talk to your children, but they don't do that. They don't realize that children can say things that are bad, and they can be in serious trouble. So you got to be careful that you're not alone when you do any of this. Now, Margaret further says, they know I have an attorney, and they still tried to call me. Their lawyers are supposed to speak with our lawyers. I agree. And again, don't answer them. There's no law that says you have to speak to CPS workers or answer phone calls or do anything. Now, Chew Baby from Virginia says, don't ever be scared of CPS, Margaret. That's what they want. Stand up for yourself and let them know you're not scared of them. That's true. They want to do an intimidation factor in you. dealing with CPS is like dealing with heart surgery. It takes a special person to do heart surgery. A plumber can't do it. A layperson can't do it. Same thing with law. It takes a special lawyer that can help you with your case. Okay. Now, I think we're close to the halfway part of the show, a little bit over it. And I'm glad to see messages are starting to come up again. For a while, the last couple of days, they seem to start at the half. Now, Chew Baby further says, once you start being assertive with them, the whole dynamics changes. I had a call when they said, so you're refusing? And the answer was, no, I'm respectfully declining and recording this conversation. And you can also say you need to have your attorney present to talk to them. You need to include that in there. And that will get you out of it. You're not doing anything wrong. But well put, Chew Baby. That is well put. Now, Chew Baby says, if you know you haven't done anything wrong, then make it known. If you're not guilty, don't go with the flow. It's not going to be any better for you. Now, Margaret says, and Margaret's from St. Louis, Missouri, I agree. They're not going to like what I have to say, so I prefer my lawyer to handle it. There you go. That's what you're paying the big bucks for. Good point, Margaret. And Chew Baby says, yes, please include your attorney. I agree. So my number's up. I'm ready to take any calls at 626 698-0990. And it is nice if you could call in, because if you call in or a guest on my show, you get a free 15 minutes with Vincent Davis, a free 15-minute consultation about anything in CPS with Mr. Davis. So that is important there. Now, Chew Baby is saying, yes, please include your attorney. I agree with that. Margaret says, I'm very cordial with them, and I have been. I just prefer not to deal with them anymore, because no matter how nice, it doesn't work. I agree with you, Margaret. And again, I tell anybody that wants to speak to a social worker, don't. And make sure you have your attorney present. You have to have your attorney present. Now, Chew Baby further says, while I don't agree, include the lawyer, the best help would be willing to stand up for yourself. Your lawyer will advocate 100% more for you as long as you advocate 100% for yourself. So you got to be strong about this and stand up for what you believe and what you're trying to say that you're not guilty of. Now, Chew Baby says, if Burl hasn't said anything, writing, well, let me read it here. Sorry. If you know you haven't done anything wrong, then make it known. That's a good saying there. I enjoyed that. Now, Margaret from Missouri says, I agree. They're not going to like that when I have to say so. I prefer for my lawyer to handle it. That's what you're paying them the big bucks. Yes, please include your attorney. I agree with you on that. Chew baby. Now, Margaret says, I'm very cordial with them. I have been. I prefer not to deal with them anymore. Plus, no matter how nice, it doesn't work. Yeah, being nice to CPS does not work. Chew baby, while I do agree to include a lawyer, the best help with you will be willing to stand up for yourself. Your lawyer will advocate 100% more for you as long as you advocate 100% for yourself. So you got to be aggressive and, be yourself on that matter. Thank you, Margaret. I know Mr. Davis will like it. Thank God for lawyers like Mr. Davis. I agree. I think Mr. Davis is helping Margaret, by the way, and she's in St. Louis, Missouri. What's your phone number, Bob? I love to call in. I love for you to do that, Chew Baby. It's been posted on my screen for the show here. As soon as I take the comment down, it'll show up. It's 626-698-0990. I'm all ears for you, Chew Baby, out of Virginia. I think she's in the southern part of Virginia in the Richmond area. So Chew Baby is going to call and talk about her case. Now, we got down here towards the bottom here in the comments. Margaret says, I agree. They're not liking what. Okay, we got someone calling in. All right. Good evening, and this is Bob Pace, live on the podcast, and whom I had the pleasure to talk to.
Hi there, this is Chew Baby.
Hey, Chubby. Welcome from Virginia to California. I'm so glad to hear from you live. So that was good. What would you like to tell me or ask me?
Well, as Margaret was saying, she's kind of scared of CPS. And when I had false allegations, very heinous false allegations put upon me, I was very scared because they came to my house with police detectives over false allegations.
Yeah, the police part is very confusing. Let me explain why the police are there. The police are called to protect the social workers, but the social workers don't care about the protection. They like to be the intimidation factor. When a policeman comes to a social worker, it's very intimidating. So that's why the police are there. They know nothing about
Well,
CPS.
Mine was different. Uh, this is almost a 16-year span of my mother trying to get custody of my son
Mm-hmm.
to the point that 3 different judges told her not to file and that she was not allowed to file.
She can do her grandkids. She can get guardianship of her grandkids. That's a lie. Yeah, she can do it.
So my son finally aged out, but I still have a 10-year-old daughter. So because my mother wasn't allowed to apply for custody, guardianship, or anything like that, she got my younger sister to put a case against her.
Wow.
So in doing so, because my younger sister had never been involved in either one of my children's lives, she thought because she makes the 6-figure salary, which, I mean, my husband does as well, but, my sister has this God complex, and she's very narcissistic. She filed in court. So she decided to make false allegations against me with CPS because she has never been involved in my daughter's life. So she wanted some backup evidence to take to court. Because she not only filed CPS allegations, she filed for custody.
You know why she's doing that, don't you?
Oh, we've already won the court case.
I know, but you know why she did that, do you?
Oh, I absolutely do. She wanted some kind of, evidence or factor. She needed something to go against us because she's never been involved in our life, or my life.
She is doing that primarily for money. You get money when your child is put in custody.
But
you don't get as much money as a CPS gets, but they give you money. So people that want to get custody or be guardianship, they're doing it for money, not because they love the child.
Well, now, and I'll get to the grandioso. We've already won the court case. The judge threw it out, and now she has to pay our lawyers. So she's quite upset about it, but I'm sure she'll get over it. But during the case, when we had to deal with CPS, at first, I was very scared. So I let them into my home. They came in. And then what was really weird was that they took my daughter into her bedroom and then they shut the door. And I wasn't allowed in there. And I was like, wait a minute. So they talked to her for 20 minutes. And the one sentence, or what they asked my daughter was, does your mom drink when she drives? And my daughter said, my mom always has a drink when she drives. But I always carry a water bottle. I carry a Pepsi.
Yeah, that's kind of a leaded question. They're leading that child into saying something.
But the whole conversation was recorded, and then we have cameras in our house as well. So they decided, long story short, they were like, okay, we're going to put you on a safety plan. You guys sign this paperwork. I was like, dude, I will drug test, I'll alcohol test, like whatever you guys need from us, we will do. But then when the heinous allegation came from my sister about my son, that's when I was like, I'm done with this questioning. I want a lawyer, because they were talking about like prison allegations. And I was like, I know that never happened, and I know that my sister is only saying that just to make her case in court to get my daughter or
Yes.
my mom.
Yes. Yes.
Toxic families are so real. And ever since I went no contact with my family, I went no contact a year before these allegations. Like, I was no contact with my family an entire year before we got these allegations and police and CPS showing up. So I wasn't speaking to anyone in my family. And then all of a sudden, we get this form of CPS, custody court, all of that. And I think that, like the toxic family culture really needs to be looked at, because this is real. Like, it is so wild to me. But I will say that my main thing at saying it is, and calling in, is that do not be scared if CPS shows up. Stand your ground. You are not allowed in my home. You are not welcome to talk to my children. And I will not be speaking to you without a lawyer present. There's nothing wrong with saying that, because they have no evidence other than what somebody has reported over the phone. And if you have not been doing anything wrong, you're not a drug addict, you're not an alcoholic, like your home is your home. You're just trying to live your life in peace. You're not getting into my house. You will not speak to my children, and I will not speak to you without a lawyer present.
Those are good words.
Because the very last thing they can do is go get a judge's signature. Because, unless you're doing some really, really weird or wrong or alcoholic, druggy things in your home, there's no way they're going to get a judge's signature to just come and rip your kids out. And if they do, then you need to go get a bank loan. You need to go sell your car. I would sell my house if somebody thought that they were going to come up and take my children from me for absolutely no reason. Because the last thing you want is your child going into a system.
I agree.
But if you are doing absolutely nothing wrong, and you just have toxic family members, you have a mad best friend, or a petty person in your life, there is no reason to let them in your home. There is no reason to speak to them, and there is absolutely no reason to open yourself up to them. You can even go down to social services and say, hey, this is what's going on. I need a legal consult. You, no matter how much money you make here in Virginia, are entitled to a legal consult for 30 minutes for free with a lawyer. And most lawyers will give a free consult. If you can't afford, like a $50, $60, $90 consult, social services is validated to give you a free legal consult for 30 minutes. Now, I'm not saying how good that consult will be, because they're not going to really, they will, they won't. It just depends on your state and who you talk to. But always know your avenue of option, because the last thing you want to do is let CPS in your life. Because what they try to
I
do
agree.
to me is
I agree.
say, oh, I need this ongoing services. Under what statute
Okay.
of law?
Now we're coming up on the hour, and I soon have to be off at 8 o'clock because I can only go an hour. And I've gone already, let me see here. I've gone already 1 hour. So I've gone a little bit over, but I definitely enjoy having you on my show. Question for you, Chew Baby. Would you like to talk to Vincent Davis for free?
I would. I don't need any more legal consult, but if you'd like to speak, I would love to.
Yeah, well, you can talk to him for 5 minutes for free because you called in. If you call in or guest my podcast, you get a free consultation with Mr. Davis for 15 minutes. All you have to do is text me your full name and your phone number and your email, and I'll put you on. It's the same number you called me on.
Well, I would love that. And I really love that you go live every night, Bob, and I enjoy watching.
Every morning, too. I'm on in the morning, too, so.
Yeah, I work from 5 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Yeah, that's all right. I'm up at 4. I try to fall asleep at midnight, so I try to survive on 4 hours of sleep.
I definitely understand that.
So,
well, you have a good night.
Yeah, I will. I really appreciate you sharing all your thoughts, especially when you text in. Chew Baby, you make this family great by being a part of it. So thank you, Chew Baby, from Virginia. And I want to thank Margaret. Margaret's another one that has also called the show, and she has really made a lot by the questions she asked by coming back. I'm so glad that my family comes and helps support me by asking questions. It really is important tonight. Tonight, it's been pretty much Chew Baby and Margaret. I don't think we had anybody else besides you two. Nope, that was it. But that's no biggie. Sometimes I have 20 or 30 people and so much text messages, I can't keep up with it. So I want to thank all of you for calling in, being supportive of this program. But please, remember my 5 rules. If you don't know them, they're on my other shows. Tonight, I didn't really talk about them. But don't stop fighting for your child. Don't give up. You'll get the child. You'll get the child. So don't give up. Do not give up. And so, with that being said, Vince Davis will follow this podcast with a message, and I'll see you tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock Pacific time. I'm always on here, so you can come on. Okay, this is Bob Pace signing off. God bless you.
Feeling lost in the maze of CPS? Desperate to get your child back? You're not alone. Countless parents face the heart-wrenching reality of family separation. The legal system can be overwhelming, but there's hope.
Now, here's the key. Babe, that's how you win a 6-month hearing.
Thank you.
If you do all of those things, you're going to blow your social worker's mind, you're going to blow your attorney's mind, and you're going to blow away the judge.
With attorney Vincent W. Davis, a dedicated legal expert with 39 years of experience, committed to helping families like yours. Join his weekly live Q&A on Zoom, where you can ask your burning questions about CPS cases. Get the knowledge and strategies you need to fight for your child's return.
Alrighty, good evening everyone. This is a question and answer session.
Are you ready to take control of your family's future? Participate as a one-time guest. Don't let fear hold you back. Take the first step towards reuniting your family. Join us now.